is this the greatest game of football? I'll say that's ever been played, but like I'll ask it this way: is this the greatest game of football you've ever seen in your life?
I'd say it is. I don't want to say no, because in terms of just sheer excitement, no. But in terms of what's been on the line, I haven't seen greater games with more on the line. I mean, I can raise you in Istanbul, but Champions League, World Cup, that's different, you know? I can raise you a remontada, because for me, that was amazing, because they go in there with a deficit of 3 goals, and then Cavani scores and you're like, okay, it's finished. But they come back and they score 6, and it's powerhouse against powerhouse. And with this World Cup, I mean, if you look at the fact that Messi scored a brace, Mbappe a hat-trick, it's got a very good argument on its side in terms of being great. But for me, with the nervousness that I could see in Argentina and me wanting France to pull through, with the remontada for me, after game 1, I was like, how do you come back from 3 down? You don't. It's a Champions League. PSG are a good side themselves. And when Cavani scores, I'm like, it's done. But Neymar drags him there. And, you know, with Sergio Roberto, it's like, guys, hold out. There's nothing more to do. Just hold. And then they score and they go delirious. That, for me, was the greatest footballing experience ever. So I'd have to relegate the World Cup final to number 2. But with what it has a good argument. But in terms of what I've watched, the excitement, the emotions, remontada for me.
Greatest game I've ever seen is Arsenal versus Reading, 7-5. Where Emi Martinez was actually the goalkeeper as well. I'd forgotten about that. But in terms of everything on the line, in terms of the storyline coming into that match, which I find ridiculous, we'll talk about this, that here's a guy 15 years, 16 years, 17 years deep into his career. He's playing for the entirety of his legacy, in this one match. And then on the other side, you've got, if Messi is the GOAT, then you've got La Chupacabra, the devourer of ghosts on the other side, where he wasn't there for the first 80 minutes, and then when they clicked, it was like, oh, it's my time now. It's Mbappe time, and he showed up. When I think, Chuck, that the goal that he scores, the volley, to take that ball on there and to make that decision split second, and this is what you're going to do, because even with his penalty and with that volley, Martinez got a hand on both of those balls, but he hits the ball so hard. There's a determination that I am willing this into the back of the net. And as I said before, seemingly there's nothing anyone can do when I decide that, okay, I'm about to take over. And then there is the question, as I said, I've seen you, Messi, in the World Cup of 2014 final, where I needed more from you and you didn't deliver. I've seen you at Anfield where you just needed to do something to stop the bleeding against the Reds and you did not deliver. And even in Remontada was Neymar's game, you know? And I was not looking at Messi that this is the game that defines him as a GOAT, but this is the thing that for me has been a hang up with my praise of him, that in the biggest of moments you haven't showed up. What are you gonna do, especially after you've been robbed by Coman? That one goal is on you, you know. And he does show up, Chuck. He does show up with the passes. He does regain control of the midfield. He is giving the pass to Lautaro Martinez that then ends up with him getting the ball over the line. He is what I said about Mbappe, that where he pounded the ball over to give France a 2-1 win in the one game. It's Messi who, it doesn't need to look as pretty as it's done up to this point in his career. It's, I just need to get this done. And then, as I'm saying, there's a 2-0 and then they peg to 2-2 and then he scores for 3-2. There's 5 minutes left. This game is over. Surely now it's over. And you see when he's celebrating as well, it's he's on the verge of tears. And then when you see the penalty, you see Di Maria, who was crying that they'd won, and then now he's crying again that this game is lost. And it's just Chuck, I was right there with them. You were there with me, and where we were as well, you could feel the tension and felt all over the world, all eyes are on this one spectacle and nothing else matters in this moment. And this is the outcome of the entire world's history or something. So in terms of there was nothing higher. There's not been a higher moment, perhaps, in recent times. You know, on that basis, that last 10 minutes plus extra time, because the whole game wasn't amazing, as I'm saying, up to the 80th minute it was just one side, you know.
I had that sinking feeling when they went 2-up against Croatia with that game set, you know. When they go up 2-up against France, and with France playing the way that they were playing, looking the way they were looking, because no, Tchouaméni gave nothing. Rabiot reverted to type. Tchouaméni shrunk. Griezmann was starved of the ball, and you're okay.
We're actually looking for Pogba and Kante for the first time.
Yes. and they went there and they looked like they needed that extra help that you were mentioning. And so it looked like the game was up, but second half it comes to life. This extra time is a crazy affair. We get to the penalty shootout, which I had said to you that, don't worry, you've got Martinez. Martinez, like from his time in the Prem coming to the World Cup, I think also from Coppers as well. I think if there's one keeper you don't want to face now, and I think in the last 2-3 years, that's that guy. In a shootout, that's that guy.
Because when it goes to a shootout, Chuck, it's a different game. It's no longer the 120 we're playing. Now it's just like someone described it this way. It's just you and him in a room, and he's like the Joker. You know, like he is in control. He is the master of that domain. It doesn't matter what it is that you've practiced. Like you've practiced 1,000 penalties like Spain or whatever the case may be. You've got a desired spot. You saw, you called it actually that when Koeman went up that you don't trust him. And going up against the Martinez, even the miss, I think Tremaine is the one who actually kicks it wide, because you are thinking to yourself, like, the margins are even tighter. I need to be even more precise than I had even planned to be. And what then happens is that you miss. Even that's him being in your head, you know?
That's him in their head all day, because what Mbappe was doing in terms of going same side was what Emi was anticipating as well. Just it was a better shot than what Emi gave as a save. That's the same mind games that Harry Kane had to go through when he had to do his second shot against Lloris. You saw in the penalty shootout that the mind games were, our side is on the left. If we go right, then there's a problem. That's why I was saying there's a third option. Hit it down the middle with power, which is what I think the number 12 did, to relieve the pressure, because either sides, they're almost booby-trapped. Leangapa, is there. Leangapa, are we timid because it's almost like the bluff.
And I haven't probably practiced it much.
Yeah, so I think him is amazing when it comes to penalty shootouts, and he proved that yet again.
Yeah, but it was a great game. It probably at international level, maybe the greatest game we've ever seen. And if someone has it as their best game of all time, would be hard pressed to argue against that. And it was a perfect end to what has been a delirious month of football. And for the first time, like, football fans are actually not clamoring for the club football to come back, because usually at this time it's like, man, can the internationals pass, can we get club football back? But now it's like, no, a little more of this. And there's no break until like club football comes again. But like, man, feels like we needed a breather, because we have all been witness to something amazing and in this particular World Cup.